So I'm going to be going live now. This
Okay.
is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com with none other than WWE Hall of Famer, the man who was in the first WrestleMania, tons of WrestleManias. He main evented Starrcade for WCW. He was recently featured on Dark Side of the Ring. Brutus, the Barber Beefcake. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing so good. It's insane. I mean, I am so doing happy, well, blessed. My life, things are going great. My wife, she's tremendous. I mean, it's better than I could have ever imagined it would be a few years back. It was really looking bleak, and things really turned around.
Speaking of looking bleak, before we went on, you just reminded me of a time in Calgary when I tried to do a show there and the ring truck broke down and we had like 700 people in the crowd and they ended up just getting your autograph because the ring
Right.
didn't show up. There was no show. Bad night for me,
Oh.
but at least the fans got to see you.
Hey, we had fun with the fans. We did the best we could. Sometimes that's what you got to do in our business. Can't always go the way you want it. But I do remember you paid me for being there, which probably half the guys, the promoters in this country or more would have balked and not would, and you were right up the front. I was a long ways from home too. So, but I mean, yeah, that just goes to show you're a good man.
Appreciate it. And you are too. I don't know why people pick on you sometimes. Why do you think that is? Just jealousy of your
Oh,
success?
God, I don't want to hit that too hard, but you watched The Dark Side, obviously, right?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. I mean, there's good. There was, some things I don't know how they were wrong, but mostly it was all good. And the people were talking about, Brutus and his gimmicks. He had so many gimmicks. And there's so many. Wow, the gimmicks. Too many names. Too many gimmicks. And I tried to explain to him. Vince McMahon trademarked my name in 1990 before anybody knew about things, before that accident and all that. And when that accident changed my whole life. And so it kind of really limited me with WWE where I was going to go. And so Hulk and I moved on to making movies and TV shows and going to work for WCW. And then, so I had to create some personalities. But almost every single one of those personalities wound up being in main event pay-per-view matches. Okay. So how can half these guys have never been in a main event pay-per-view match in their life make fun of me saying, "Oh, Brutus is really gimmick and this." Hey, I just got called upon, step into a role, like bam, do something, boom, throw me on and I could be a pay-per-view and help draw money to their cause and everything. How can that be a bad thing? Or why would it show that I am not a good wrestler? It would show that I am an exceptional wrestler because I can change boats mid while we're going 80 miles an hour. I jump to the other boat and keep going.
Yeah, I heard that. I think it was Starrcade 94 when you were the Butcher taking on Hogan. That actually had a bigger crowd in Nashville than Flair against Steamboat that everyone talks about.
I
But
love
people
that,
will never
man.
give you your due on that. It had a good pay-per-view buy rate as well.
I only say that I thank God every single day. I pray so much. He has blessed me so much. I have just been, able to do things. And sometimes I guess, they're I tell my wife all the time, hey, you're not bad. These people that talk about you they're only jealous. And
Tell us what I call Ric Flair. My nickname.
Yeah, I noticed
This is
Knobs took a shot at your acting. Is
yeah.
that because
Oh yeah.
maybe he wasn't in as many movies as you?
That's I doubled Hulk and did stunts in probably eight movies and 9, 10 movies and television series that went 22 episodes, and it only got dropped because the greedy production people that did Baywatch, over there on the California beach for years and years, and they stole so much money. It's mind blowing. And they came to Florida and they thought they could get away with the whole thing. And Rice Entertainment, who was sponsoring the thing and putting up all the money, they went back and looked at the books and they go, "Oh, Jesus, there's 20 people that are on the books as your family." What? And then the FedEx bill was $250,000. I mean, money just disappeared everywhere. So at the end, after the show, the people looked at the thing. They go, "Hey, it's a great show and we love it, but we just can't put up the money again and see it all go out the window."
Yeah, and it was a pretty good show. And I know you were in Mr. Nanny for a little bit. And weren't you
Stand
in
with
one of the
muscles, Ultimate
Santa with
Weapon,
Yeah.
two
Ultimate
Navy
Weapon, you had a
SEALs.
real role too, right? You had
Yeah,
a
they
pretty
had,
big role in Ultimate Weapon.
and I spoke and everything. But the Navy SEAL, the two Navy SEAL movies we did for TNT with Carl Weathers and Marty Cove and Marty Cove. Sorry, from the the Karate Kid movies. Billy Drago from the Untouchables and done a million movies. All kind of all kind of people. Shannon Tweed was in them. A couple of our episodes in those two movies, and what an unbelievable person. Really, I was just so lucky to be able to hang out and meet her, and to be with the head guy from Kiss. What's his name?
Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons. To be with him, and she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she was like saint-like. Me and Hulk tried everything to get her, to corrupt her, to have a beer with us on the set after these 20-hour days and stuff. We're all like, "Oh," ooh. And she was just beautiful and looking good and just happy and it's just so pure. It was like, wow, this is so weird, because this woman to be with Gene Simmons, and I met once or twice, but he is just cuckoo. He's crazy, and if he hadn't done everything in the world twice, I don't know who has. And for her to be, make a family with him, and probably be the only woman that could ever rein in Gene Simmons, she did it. It's unbelievable.
Definitely. Someone's bringing up here, you did Hogan's stunts in Suburban Commando. Is that true?
Absolutely. That's, with Chris Lloyd, Shelley Duvall, Jack Elam, one of the old guys sitting in the Jeep with talking, was from all the old Westerns and John Wayne movies and stuff. I sat for hours talking to him about the old John Wayne movies, because I'm a huge John Wayne fan. And Chris Lloyd, I love that guy. He's just crazy. And I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of Comic Con. So I did Australia. I think I did New Zealand. He was there. And he and I were sitting in the green room and talking and just going through old times and talking. And just some of the actors I've been fortunate enough to work with and be around, and just always trying to learn and absorb, some of the greatness of these people. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing to be around them.
One thing I can confirm that's true with you is that you don't have a criminal record, because you've come to Canada all the time. I think you've been at least 10 times for me over the years. So I can confirm for the story that they tried to say about you on the subway on Dark Side of the Ring
Oh,
that if you had been caught with something, wouldn't you have a criminal record?
well, absolutely. And here's the well, this is the simplest thing to think about. Okay, the the place where I was, this toll booth, token booth where I was sitting, was called Downtown Crossing, and a bunch of the lines all run into that and everything. That was shut down for hours. That alone must have cost $500,000 being shut down. And you think if these Boston police found cocaine in my booth, they wouldn't have tried to sue me and put that bill on me going, you just caught, doing drugs in the booth. I mean, it sounded bad. But I still use those same aspirin BC powders today because they work. There's several different pain relievers that you can use in that powdered form. And it's not such a stretch that I had one in my bag and it fell on the floor and the girl picked it up and it went poof. And she's wearing a black and this real fine dust like thing went on her. First thing she started yelling was anthrax. It's anthrax. I mean, I don't know who would have ever thought of that. It was back in that time, I guess. But that says it all. The Boston police, they never filed anything on me, and they sure would if they could have. That's the way it was back then.
And they don't even let Americans with DUIs into Canada, so
I know
you definitely didn't have any charges there. Somebody wants to know about working for Jake Roberts in the UK. Do you have any memories of that?
I love Jake. Yeah. Well, I know Jake was with a girl for a while that was from there. I know she was kind of sponsoring him, whatever. And then me, Doug, and Honky contacted us about going over and doing a show. So we all did. And it was like, everybody makes their own deal and everything. But so most of the time I get paid every night. That's the old school way. They used to do it in the 70s and the 60s. Every night you got your payday, your payoff. Didn't change till later. So it's like third day into the deal, and we're at a pretty good, a beautiful arena, and there's like almost maybe 100 or 200 people there. Definitely not paying the rent and paying all the guys we got. And I went to Honky. I said, "Did you get paid?" And no. I said, I went to Doug and I was like, "Hey, brother, did you get paid? Have you been paid?" No. I said, okay, you guys can do whatever you want on this, but as far as I'm concerned, I need to get paid, and then I'll wrestle tonight. No problem. Happy as a clam. And when I told Jake that, oh, he got upset and and everything. But then guess what? He paid all of us that night and stuff. Then, we finished out the tour. Everything was great. I went back to the States. And then when I got home, there was something on the internet about me trashing a hotel room in, God, I think it's London, somewhere in the suburbs or whatever around London, that I trashed the hotel rooms. And before I left, because I was mad or something, I was like, okay, I've only been in 5,000 hotel rooms for 40 years in the business, and I've never trashed a hotel room ever. So why would I do it when I'm over there with Jake? I don't know. They just made it up because Jake was mad at me, and he said, but all that, it was just the times were a lot different then.
What do you think about Jake getting his AEW contract extended, even though they barely use him? It seems like a pretty good deal some guys have over there.
Oh man, hey, I love it. That's fantastic. I'm super happy for Jake. Uh, Chris Jericho's a good friend, and my grandsons love the AEW. They love some of the guys there. Chris was fantastic and did like birthday shout outs for my grandsons and stuff. He is this amazing guy. And anybody gets a deal and can keep a deal. Amazing. I wish I had one, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see in there one day because they do bring in the legends here and there. Do you think with Vince McMahon recently selling about 2 billion total worth of stock that there's any chance he's going to jump back in the wrestling business? Apparently his no compete ends in January 2025.
Oh wow, I wasn't aware of that. I don't know. This is getting old, and how much money do you need? Really? He's done it all, been there, done it all, and then the latest stuff that's hit the newsreels and stuff about him is not good. So if I was him, I think I'd just stretch out on the beach in a nice chair under the sun, sipping a pina colada, and go to Trader Vic's on the weekend and have hamburger. I don't, what else? What else does he need to do?
I'm going to guess you always had a good relationship with him over the years.
Mostly so, yeah. Yeah. Never spent a lot of time with him, but he was in Florida a few times and then he did make a couple of stops down on Reddington Beach in Hulk's townhouse down there right on the beach. We pull the Donzi Z33, 33-foot twin engine boat, anchor it right off the beach, nice pool down there, everything, and Vince and Linda both, and we hung out, barbecued and did our thing down there and on the beach and had a great time.
Do you see him going to court with this woman now that she's already brought it all out? He really doesn't have anything to lose by taking it all the way, or do you think he's going to settle it again?
You know what? I haven't been following that too close. I don't have a clue. I really don't. I don't know what. I know it's not. Going and denying it to the end. I think maybe that'd be good, because if it's what I think you're talking about, it's so degrading and demoralizing and subhuman behavior that to admit to it would be pretty serious. I don't know how you come back from that.
Did you actually leave WWE to go to WCW, or was there a time in between there where you were a free agent?
Definitely like a free agent there. After WrestleMania 9, while we were actually after we just come out of the ring, probably within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we went over to another stage and filmed a interview for the Tokyo Dome. And he and I both went over and wrestled the Tokyo Dome, whatever it was, 75,000 or something. And I picked up a better payday for an 8-minute match with Masa Saito. Saito, the same one that was in with Kim Patera and went to jail and all that, was the booker for New Japan, and worked with him. Did like 8 minutes, beat him and right in the middle of the ring, and made a better payday than I did for WrestleMania. I don't know if we were considered a main event. I assume we were. We were world tag team match. I thought we actually won that match, but then they kind of flip-flopped, switched around at the end there, and realizing what they had done, and said, "Oh no, we can't give those two the belts because they're leaving." Going away. We were going to Filmed Thunder in Paradise, actually, the movie first that we filmed in St. Pete Beach and all around and the surrounding islands and stuff. And then we started filming Thunder in Paradise, the television series at Disney. And then WCW was doing all their filming at Universal Studios, I guess back then. So it was only natural with WCW people everywhere, all around us, surround us in Orlando, while we're down there at the Grand Floridian, and Terry's bringing in, Terry Funk, and we had Hercules, we had all the Sting, the very first episode that they sold the show to Disney with had me doubling Hulk on a wave runner on a small little river there in Kissimmee, flying down this river in a wave runner and roll up to a airboat with supposedly Sting driving, but they had a guy underneath it, had it set up. And without rehearsal, without ever even trying it before, I come flying up from doing like 40 miles an hour to probably 25, 30 next to the airboat, step off, reach up, grab a Sting, and start a big fight scene on the front of this moving airboat. And then boom, 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 go off into the water near the shore. And then boom, you got Hulk and the real Sting pop up. I had me and the doubles. And the Disney watched this thing and they were like, "Oh my God, this is great. We love this. We had no idea that Hulk could do this kind of stuff. Oh my God." And they went, "Well, he didn't." They were like, what do you mean? They're like, "That wasn't Hulk. That's his double." And they were like, going, "What? Can we watch that again?" And they watched it again. And they were like, that's a great double for Hulk. When these guys they produce TV, then they don't even know that it wasn't the real guy. That's something to be proud of there, buddy. Because I've been around the business a long time. I know I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. I'm in AFTRA, the American Federation for the television actors thing, and have been since 1984. Whenever we did the first commercial for the Hasbro wrestling figures, a little wrestling guy with me in the pink tights going, and
did you get a good payday for that, by the way? We've heard everyone got different amounts.
Yeah, I got I wouldn't consider it a great payday, but it was something. Back in the early 80s, I was scratching and scraping because I'd been, 7 years running around the country in every territory, barely making a living. Thank God my family, my mom and dad helped subsidize me a few times when I was really needed it, and it kept me going. And then once the opportunity came in 83 there to go to events and with this with the Brutus Beefcake, and I came up with the outfits and stuff, and they came up with the name, and boom, and then get that opportunity to go out on TV. They went crazy. People went wild. And then I guess they scratched their head and they said, "Yeah, I think this is really going to work really good." And then they ran with it.
WrestleMania 1, you against David Sammartino. Any memories of that? Looking at WrestleMania 40 now, did you ever think it would go this long?
Never. Had no idea it was going to be like going to 40. I thought I would have probably done a few more than I did, but that accident put a damper on things for a couple of years there. But I had actually got a chance to come back to WrestleMania 9, pretty much go out at WrestleMania on top, getting our hands raised and having, God knows how many people were at a big outdoor show at Caesar's Palace, whatever, and going crazy and stuff. And if it's going to be your last WWE match, that's a way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to go out. There's a fan on here that wants to know what your favorite WWE match was.
Oh, probably me and Perfect in the WrestleMania 6. WrestleMania match number 6 was, we had 72 plus thousand in Toronto at the indoor at the dome, and
Yeah, there's been some people saying, why was it you and not Hogan to end Mr. Perfect's streak? Because he was feuding with Hogan at the time. Do you know whose call that was?
I'm not sure whose call it was, but see, the thing was, I was getting. Was going to get the Intercontinental belt. They weren't going to put an Intercontinental belt on him. So why waste it? If they're giving me the Intercontinental belt, boom, that was going to happen. And so we did the match. Who was to know that Warrior's going to come along and on SummerSlam, what was like 80, 88, or everyone else going to supposedly take the belt. Warrior decides that he's going to quit if he doesn't get a belt. So
I think it may have been the accident that screwed you after Perfect, because wasn't it WrestleMania 7 that you missed due to the accident?
Right, but
yeah,
Warrior,
you were also going to get the belt then.
I was going to get the belt in August of 1990 with that. Or August or September, whatever it was for the SummerSlam, and then but the accident happened on July 4th, so that took that out, and I mean it changed the course of my life, but I'm happy to be here, still be alive. I shouldn't be alive probably the way things turned out. I'm awful happy. The doc, he was on the dark side. My doctor, Dr. Matus Habal, from Armenia, a genius, a man who was years and years and years ahead of his time, and he saved and helped countless children who would have never lived. And his skills and with the in the operating room were amazing. He was so advanced, and the reason and why he ever decided that he's going to help me, I have no. It's just that God intervened. It was an intervention there. He didn't operate on adults. He only operated on kids. And how they were able to wrangle this guy off the golf course into the hospital to see me, hopefully before I died, because I was in and out there, bouncing in and out. Me and I was up by the pearly gates there, checking it out, and they yanked me back. And that doctor just said, "We're going to operate on this kid." And all the doctors looked at him and said, "You're gonna what?" The guy, he's not gonna live 12 more hours. What do you think you're gonna operate on? This guy, he's gonna die. He's dead. He's dying as we speak. He's dying. So, and the doctor says, "No, we are gonna do this thing. We're gonna redo his face." And called up all these doctors and all this equipment. And they had to bring in 18 wheelers into the parking lot because the hospital had no facilities for a trauma, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The bill on this thing was like $750,000, $1 million really, to actually redo my face. And then the doctor knew that I was out of business, and I didn't really have insurance, so he canceled all the other doctors' pay. Said this was on me, and then so the doctor's bill was like almost nothing. He did it, and I agreed to do some stuff for him, which I did, and go to speak to parents of some of the children and people that come from all over the world some of the third world countries, all the third world countries that have no way to help kids born with cleft palates, with their teeth, half a mouth, their nose over here, one eyeball up here, one eye. This guy was so good. He could transform through a series of operations, transform these kids into a person that could have a life and grow up. And, it was the most amazing thing. I had no idea there was anybody out there that could do the things that this guy did. And what's the luck of how you call it luck that the accident occurred 30 miles from where his office, 20 miles from his office. His office could have been in Kathmandu, for all in Budapest, in London, in Ireland. It could have been anywhere in the world, and I'd be dead. And it was in Tampa, Florida. And the accident happened just north of Tampa in a little city called Lutz, Florida.
God was on your side. Someone's asking, do you have any permanent side effects from that? Does anything still bother you?
I get some headaches. I got some issues from my neck now. My neck actually kind of fused itself solid. It's probably some of the result of trauma from that event. But just wrestling 42 years. I mean, so I have limited motion. It's an inoperable thing because I went to everybody trying to see if something they could do, because I can't. That's high as I can look up. I can't lift my chin up any farther than that, or turn much farther than that. But it's a hell of a lot better than being dead. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Someone brings up it's would have been Piper's birthday today. Do you have any memories of Roddy Piper?
Oh, absolutely, man. I got all my inspiration to do barbershops after Roddy. We were great friends. I did a podcast. If you ever want to find something, you will laugh your cojones off. It's me and Snuka and Piper. It was one of the last podcasts that he did when he was still, before he died of cancer, before he died. And Snuka had never done a podcast with Roddy, nor had I. We were in Orlando, Florida, at an event that day, and so we went to Roddy's room that night for a few hours and did the podcast. Man, woo! There was some stuff flying around that room, some serious questions asked and answered, and I know Jimmy my whole life. I love him, man. It's heartbreaking that he's gone too, and Rocky Johnson, Dwayne's father, and just we've lost so many. It's just it's tough. I am just so happy to be here. I mean it.
I heard recently, this may have been before you got to WWE, but there was some Middle East tours in the early 80s that not a lot of people know about. Were you a part of any of those Middle East tours? Because I heard that Jimmy Snuka kind of went a little off the wall on one of those, but it may have been before you joined the company.
I think it was before I joined. There was definitely some Middle East independent stuff that came down the pike, and I actually had a visa to go to one of them, and then there was just too much going on over there. I opted out. They weren't going to change my life for the money they were paying me, and it just wasn't worth the aggravation of maybe being kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah, involved in a bombing or something. Someone wants to know, do you still talk to Greg Valentine often?
Greg's out in Vegas. I haven't talked to him in a while. I talk to him when I see him at shows and things like that. And I got a soft spot in my heart for Greg and blah blah blah. But I do want to clear up one kind of thing that Greg fairly recently was on a podcast, and he called my wife a "see you next Tuesday." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Probably a lot of people didn't, but that's no excuse. I know his wife. We've had some round and round stuff. His wife has issues. Her Missy tried to be nice to her so many times it's ridiculous, and she went off the rails and went cuckoo. And then I guess to pacify her, Greg went off the rails and went cuckoo on this podcast. But I mean, I wish I had it. Missy has the video and the audio of some where she's going, Greg, did you call me a? But she didn't use the "see you next Tuesday" thing. Did you call me? And then Greg's like, well, uh, well, yeah. And she goes, really? Am I, and it's the funniest thing you ever saw. He's trying to not trying to deny it, but then not doesn't even want to own up to it, and he's like realizing not a good thing, not a good move,
He's a good guy in some ways, in my experience, but he's not trustworthy in others. But he definitely has a good side to him.
he has a great side to him, no question about that. We went through a lot together. I learned a lot being on the road with him in the New York and Jersey area. He helped to teach me those roads up there, brother. And I'm telling you, just surviving, if you can survive driving in New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania for 10, 10, 12, 15 years, then you've survived something, because that's like a demilitarized zone up there. It's crazy.
Yeah, that turnpike is brutal. Someone wants to know about Ron Bass, one of your most famous feuds.
Ron Bass. Well, when Hulk and I went to Memphis in '78, I guess early '78, when Jerry Lawler was there for Jerry Jarrett, that's what they started calling him, the Hulk. Jerry the Hulk. They did this video, and we just come off the beach. He was like 320, and I was probably about 250. I mean, and they Ron Bass, and he had a partner. They was a tag team with him and Pete Austin. We called him Pete Austin from Boston, and him and Ron Bass were together. And we actually had one of the matches I had in Memphis on TV was with Ron Bass was one of the guys. It was like a tag match, and I got gigged. And Bass gigged me, and he hit a vein. He hit a vein in my head, and blood was squirting out almost. I mean, they had to X out the TV screen, and the blood. There was so much blood in the ring that it's like the people that had to wrestle after me, they were like they could hardly deal with it. The smell was horrible. The ring was. They had to wind up getting a whole new ring cover because so much blood. I almost had to stay the night in the hospital. We wound up finally butterflying it. There was a guy there that helped. He spent a couple hours just trying to get the cut closed up and get it to stop bleeding and everything. And but that was in our first territory, so that was pretty amazing.
That was before the days where there's doctors in the back, so you get stitched up as soon as you get through the curtain.
Yeah. Hey, is there any chance you can give me like a minute or two here to
Yeah.
take a quick little off-screen break? That would be great.
No, go ahead. I'll cut you off here. All right, fans, there'll be time for a few more questions. Once he gets back, very good interview so far. He cleared up a few things about Dark Side of the Ring and something I wasn't aware of that with Greg Valentine just there. Yeah, so he'll be back in a couple minutes. Apparently, Jack Kilby did an interview with Buff Bagwell last night, who is another guy that had a dark side of the ring earlier this year. So yeah, we'll see what happens when he gets back. Brother Brutus was one of his names, yes. What made him quit WWE for WCW? He was a free agent doing Thunder in Paradise at the time. Paul Stanley is the lead guy for Kiss. Oh, he's back. There he is. There's a fan question on here that he wants to know about your disciple gimmick when you joined the NWO in 1998.
What kind of wants to know how that happened, I assume. Like,
yeah, because you totally had. I mean, they went over it a bit in Dark Side of the Ring. You disappeared for a while. You came back leaner than you've ever looked, and your hair was different.
yeah,
Not a lot of people knew it was you right away.
Well, they were in a position. WCW was bitching about, we need more talent. We need more talent. Hulk says, okay, well, we still couldn't use, at that time, we still couldn't use Brutus Beefcake. It was still tied up in court. But, so you got Brutus Beefcake here. Well, you've been so many. Eric Bischoff says, hey, we've been all these guys. We just can't repackage you anymore. He said, well, you got a really good worker. Been a former world champion. You can't use him. And Bischoff was determined. Absolutely not. We just can't do anything more.
Why does he hate you so much?
I don't know. You talk about the J word, man. He wanted to hang around Hulk. There was a time him and Jason Hervey, his his partner, and Hulk would not hang out with him because me and him were running wild all over everywhere. And it's just one of those things. And he was just like determined. And then so I went back to Florida, like you said, dropped, boom, changed, grew the beard out. I was down to like 5-6% body fat. I went from 255 down to 220, 215, 220. I was wearing 30, went down to a 30-inch waist, still had 21-inch arms. And I got the leathers and got the stuff, and then Hulk saw it. He was like, oh my God, they're not even going to believe this. So he made an appointment. We went down to CNN Center in Atlanta. I had my gear on, up the elevators and CNN people were giving us the looks. Go into the office with all Bischoff's people, and I think Kevin Sullivan was there. It was a bunch of people in the room. And Hulk marches me in there, and everybody's like, oh my God, who is this guy? And Hulk says, this is my new disciple. And everybody's looking at me, and they're going, wow, man, this guy looks great. Can he work? And then he says, oh yeah, I guess I don't need to introduce you to Brutus Beefcake. And the people's faces hit the floor. Their mouths hung open. They couldn't believe it because nobody knew it was me. Nobody. And half the people ran out of the room. They were so embarrassed. And so, I mean, yeah, okay. He got me a deal. I had a paycheck. That was the whole, the whole story. To get 1 million people here, you're paying. Give Brutus a payday too, for crying out loud. He deserves it as much as all these other people. And besides that, he can actually wrestle. And but then they wouldn't let me do anything. the disciple walked out. He carried the belt. I did. There was in some of the house shows I went out. I had my I think called it the Apocalypse. It's kind of similar. It was actually what I was doing, and then Dallas Page started copying me, and then called it the Diamond Cutter. So he kind of really stole my finish because he had all the airtime and I wasn't on, so it wasn't much. I just kept doing what I was doing. I'd go out there and give the apocalypse to people, and in some of the towns and whatever, a couple of the towns, but I was just happy to be able to get a payday and support my family. That's what we're all doing here, right?
Definitely. Did you ever wrestle Andre the Giant? Someone's asking.
Oh yeah, absolutely, but not in a single. Andre only worked a couple of single matches that I know of. I know probably Big John Studd was one of them. Hulk was one of them. But he always was. He did tag matches. He'd do a match with 2 or 3 different opponents. Sometimes handicap match, I guess they call that. So mostly, I did a lot of tag matches and battle royals. Andre would hit the country back when we had territories everywhere, and he came into Oregon and did a battle royal for Don Owen out there in Olympia, in Washington, at a big show out there. I know he came. He came into Mobile, Alabama, or wherever we were. I think Harley Race was there. We had good talent stuff all the time. And so, I met Andre in 78 when I first went to New York, and lucky for me, he liked me. A lot of guys he didn't really like. And so, he kind of let you know and stuff. So I always had a good relationship with him. It's in the ring a lot of times with him. I've seen what he did to Jake after Jake put that snake on him, and he's deathly scared of the snakes, and Jake put the snake on him on purpose. I saw Andre do some things to Jake that I don't know how I even lived through it. So I'm standing on Jake. That guy weighed 600 pounds. Standing on Jake, holding on to the ropes, standing there on Jake. I thought he'd just flatten him. He just squished the guts right out of him. And then Jake got his hair always wet and long and stringy, and Andre would step when Jake was down. He'd step on his hair and then grab him by the head, and then slowly just pull him up and just rip the hair right out of his head. And I'll be watching this, and I'm like, Jake, guess you shouldn't have put that snake on Andre. It would have been fine if you didn't have to wrestle him, but not a good idea to piss a giant off. Not a good idea.
Is it true that at one point he had like a bowel movement on Bad News Brown or something, or is that an old wives' tale that there was a rumor that he was wrestling Bad News or something, and he sat on him and he had diarrhea or something?
You know what? I can neither confirm or deny that, but I can say that I think I was on that tour. I don't think I've witnessed that, but I did witness Bad News calling Andre out of the bus one day, and around the time you're talking about, and Andre didn't come out. So I don't know if they worked it out ahead of time, whatever happened, but not like Andre's scared of anybody. But Bad News was pretty much bad news. That guy he was a world champion judo expert his whole life. So there's no end to what he could do, and a lot of guys, if you knew the guy, I knew him. He didn't mess around, but he was pissed about something, and I mean really pissed, to enough to call out the Giant. The Giant just said, you know, okay, well, we're not going to do this today. Didn't leave the bus, you know, and I guess they wound up working it out. But I wouldn't surprise me if that actually did happen, but I didn't see with my own eyes.
One thing I noticed about going out with you in the past, you never really get the tough guy reputation, but like if someone was rude to you in a bar or something, you would always stand up for yourself. And I'm sure when you were with Hogan, there was probably some moments where you had to protect him over the years. Did
A
anything
lot
ever
more than a
happen like
moment.
that?
There's a
Yeah.
lot of moments, man. So many you wouldn't believe it, and that's something else, you know, that nobody knows about. I watched his ass. I covered him from this way to that way so many times. Got him. There were situations in bars that could have got so ugly and would have been, and I was always focused and watching and I knew everything. My wife goes crazy. She goes, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" I goes, I'm just looking. That's what I do. I watch everything. I see everything. And I'd get us out of the bar. I'd get us out of the way. I'd get security. I'd have people already. Boom. So that we never, not even once, really had a serious issue. No big bar fights, no brawls in bars and everything, because I was so far ahead of it that I had the security dragging people out the back door, throwing a beating on them. And so nothing would ever happen like that, because nothing ever good comes out of the bar fights and that kind of stuff. And
No, and you wouldn't even see the top guys at bars these days.
geez, you know, I mean, if there would be the social media that's going like it was, you know, I mean, like we have now, you know, back in the 80s, it would have been the same. I mean, we were rock stars. We're on MTV. We were on VH1. We're all plastered all over everything. And everywhere we went, people, they loved us. And it was the most fun time of my life. I'll never forget it. I'll never, ever say, you know, thank you, Vince. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to get on TV, to show what I could do and let the people decide. Did they like me or not? I think they decided they liked me.
How was working with Adrian Adonis, who you
Oh,
started the barber gimmick from him?
yeah. See, Adrian, I had a little history with Adrian going back to Vern Gagne in Minnesota. I mean, not bad history. I know him and Jesse were like partners there. And I was in there for a few months. I helped Hulk move his family to Minnesota. His gym, his cars, you know, moved him across from Connecticut. I think, or no, he wasn't in Connecticut yet. Moved him to Connecticut from there. But Adrian had no self-respect. He always stunk. He was sweaty and dirty, and he had food all over him half the time. He was always high, always drunk. And I didn't even really know that they were going to stick with Adrian to the last minute. And he had come to me. He was partners with Dick Murdoch for a while. Did you know that, right?
Yeah, I remember they had the biker style gimmick there.
You know, he had been doing the flower shop, you know, and all that got moved. And then he got up with Murdoch, and Murdoch got into his head. And I met Adrian brought his wife when Hulk got married in California, and Inoki was there, and the Giant was there, everybody was there. Adrian was there with his wife. Well, I met her for whatever, 2 minutes, whatever it was. And then Murdoch had convinced Adrian somehow that I was seeing his wife on the side. And so Adrian like came at me like he was going to kill me. You know, like you're telling my wife. And I said, brother, if you showed me a picture of her right now, I couldn't tell you if that's your wife or it ain't your wife. I don't know what your wife looks like. I met her one time years ago. I have no idea what you're talking about. You were seeing, I mean, Murdoch had pumped him up because Murdoch hated me and Hulk too, both, because we're the opposite of him and that old school mentality. We were good looking bodybuilder like types, and he was a big fat beer gut, tobacco chewing redneck. And he had convinced Adrian of all this bullshit, and then so I knew when Adrian came to me with that, and we didn't fight. He said, he didn't press it. He didn't jump me, because I sure would have been all over him like a cheap suit. Adrian, he actually could move and do things in the ring you'd never think that a guy with his body type and everything could do. But there's no way on earth that I wanted to have a program with him. But here's the thing. Even more than that, he didn't want to have a program with me. He quit after that WrestleMania 3. Boom. After the match was over, he got his thing and he went home. I don't know where he went, but he quit. So that first thing I heard was, now you're the barber. And Adrian quit. So I was like, whew, that was going to be a nightmare having to put up with him and all his craziness. So boom, he was gone. And then so now it was on me to try to figure out, because they gave me no warning. They didn't say 6 months before, okay, here's what we're going into this WrestleMania thing, and then you're going to help Piper, and we're going to do all this haircut stuff, and then afterwards you're going to be the barber. And we had all this ideas. There was nothing. I went to WrestleMania. I went home for a couple of days, went back to New York, Rochester, New York, to the first TV at the War Memorial. It was an old, dumpy, rundown, crappy building. And they came and got me and said, we've got to do a photo shoot. I said, a photo shoot? Where are we going? Oh, we're going down to a barbershop. Barbershop? Okay, go to the barbershop. Give me this white coat. One of the referees' name was Mark. Had him in the chair, and I'm acting like I'm cutting his hair and stuff. And they just said, okay, now you're the barber. So what does that mean? I'm the barber. There's never been a barber in wrestling before. If there is a haircut match, if something happens one time in a territory when a guy's leaving, he gets his haircut. He's got his U-Haul packed in the parking lot. He loads up his wife and his kids after the match, and they drive to the next territory and start up. There's no hair cutting going on. So where was I going to go with it? So I was ready to quit, and I was just going nuts. And Hogan finally found me and says, what's going on? I go, I quit. They can't, after all, I've just put in 3 years of working my ass off, selling out arenas all over the country and everywhere in Canada too. And you're going to just strip that name and gimmick away from me and not give me something to go on or anything? Just drop this in my lap cold? Well, Hogan said, well, what if we do this, Brutus? What if you put a sleeper on him and knock him out, then pull them scissors out and cut their hair? I started, yeah, well, that could work, but it has to happen every single time. When I go to a match on TV, and those, the matches I'm talking about with the jobbers, 3-4 minutes, boom, boom, go doing the jobbers. Everybody's got to get a haircut. I mean, everybody. So when Hulk went back to Vince with our idea, okay, boom, 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 he liked it. So I went to Florida, got the crazy, changed up some of the outfits a little bit, got new clothes, more stuff, and then came up with the big shears. Took a couple months, and then I came up with a big shears idea, Rattling Barber pull, and then the barber thing basically they were setting me up to fail. I think there was nowhere to go. Pat Patterson, he was mad because I didn't do the I'm gay from San Francisco gimmick, and I did the Chippendales gimmick instead. And so I think they were setting me up to fail, and then we wound up flipping it, 360 all the way back around, and then doing the Barber thing, and it turned out better than they ever imagined it could.
Yeah, they gave you some great music too, and the character got over. Where can people follow you now if they want to keep in touch with you and find out what you're doing?
Boss? Twitter? What's the
Brutus underscore? I don't know. Brutus
well, there's no
Beefcake
Twitter
underscore,
anymore.
Brutus Beefcake underscore.
Yeah, it's
Brutus
X. It's called X now.
That's Brutus Beefcake underscore. I have a
TikTok, Brutus Beefcake.
TikTok, Brutus Beefcake. Facebook is
Edward Leslie.
Facebook's under my real name, Edward Leslie. Instagram, Brutus Beefcake. I mean, we're out there. I am the commissioner of Boca Raton Championship Wrestling down in Boca Raton, Florida, and we work usually about every other month. And we have a great little territory down there, a little group of guys. We got a giant who's 7 foot tall. We got guys.
Kerry Morton.
Kerry Morton.
Matt Mashler, Neil the Heel.
Matt Mashler, Neil the Heel, and the Vampire Warrior, Gangrel. He helps. He runs like a school down there to train guys. We have
And
Nelio.
CCW.
They have a little outfit called CCW where young guys can get experience. They used to run small shows, so it's like, man, things are so great, so good. And thank God that finally the COVID's gone. I think I'm going to travel to the UK now for the first time in like 5 years. And because I'm over there at least 2 or 3 times a year in Germany. And then I was supposed to go to Ireland and Scotland and everything was all set up. And then COVID took all that out. Oh, yeah. I'm going to Nova Scotia. My birthday's in a couple of days. Going to Nova Scotia on Friday to stay for like 10 days. And we're going to do all kinds of shows all around Halifax and like a comedy show, just kind of a question and answer deal. People ask me about stuff and I tell some stories and stuff. And then some signings and good.
Anybody up there can go to Everbright and Google
What's
your
it?
name.
Everbright?
For tickets.
Everbright,
And
it's
Google
called.
your name.
If you go on the internet, the Everbright, and Google Brutus, they'll have information about where you can get tickets and where the events are. There's just going to be all over we're just going to be traveling around for like 10 days.
You'll do great up there in the Maritimes because WWE doesn't go there anymore. So it's a hot
I've been there
territory.
10, 15 years at least and always did fantastic there. I loved going to Nova Scotia. The last time I was there, it was so cold out. I remember I'm stuck in a little hotel on the side of the road, and it's like 20 below zero, and it's like
A naked guy in your room.
it was so cold. No, that was the other guy.
Oh.
And I just haven't been back since but I was up in the Maritime doing a golf tournament with Ted DiBiase like 2 years ago.
United Brothers.
And it was great. There was a Canadian ship came in, so the Canadian Navy guys were all there. We went on the Canadian Navy like a small destroyer, cruiser, whatever they call it, and had a beer party. Go figure. Only in Canada, baby. we were having a big beer fest on the boat.
Very good. Well, I just looked it up. It's actually Eventbrite. It's called
Eventbrite. Okay.
For Brutus, and he's touring all around Nova Scotia. So go check him out there. And Brutus, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on the dark side of the ring. They treated you fairly well. I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans.
Well, I wanted to say I'm so proud of my wife, Missy. She did a podcast this past week with Monty and Pharaoh. And I guess these guys are well-established guys. And I highly advise you to go on YouTube or wherever you can find it.
My own podcast.
And they're offering her a podcast after just seeing her on a couple of podcasts that she done. And so she might have her own podcast coming up here, brother. I will definitely let you know, drop you a line and let you know, and it'd be something to tune into.
And have me on his show.
You could come, you can have Missy Beefcake next time.